So today I'm going to show you how I ground this piece of 3/16 stainless steel into a perfect square.
I've got to get this cube plus or minus 1/10. Before I even grind this part, I'm going to go ahead and mount a Tyrolit 80 grit F-grade silicon carbide wheel. Now once I have my wheel mounted, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is spray off my table, and then I'm going to take a Tyrolit machinist stone that we have on our store and de-stone the table. Why I want to do that is make sure that if I have any burrs or dents on my table, I grind those off. That way when I mount a vise to it, my shunt vise, it sits nice and flat. So once I mounted that indicator, I trimmed both my X and my Z of the axis of my machine to make sure that my table is flat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install my shunt vise. Then what I'm going to do is put it in my shunt vise and then run the indicator across that vise. That way when I mount my part in that vise, I have the most efficient grind so I can get on and off that part as quickly as possible. So the process of making a perfect square is essentially 6 different steps. Now the first 2 steps is the top and bottom reference points. I have to grind both the top and the bottom, and that's going to give me 2 parallel sides. Then I'm going to flip the part in the vise and run an indicator up the parallel side, and I'm going to do a minimum cleanup on the 3rd side. That's going to give me a true 90-degree angle. Now from this step I can go ahead and rotate it again 90 degrees, and I can grind the 4th side, and that's going to give me 2 parallel sides and 2 perpendicular sides. Now for the 5th and 6th side, it's essentially the same thing. I'm going to choose side 5 and put it face down on my magnetic table. Then I'm going to run the indicator up my parallel side and then deck the top, and that's going to give me a 90 degrees. And then I can go ahead and do a final step, flip it again, and do the 6th side, and that's going to give me a perfect cube.
So first thing I did was I touched the part in my Y-axis. That's going to establish the top of my part. Then I pushed the wheel over to where it overhangs my furthest most edge, and that's going to be my Z position. So now on the core panel, I can go ahead and do Y and Z. Now for X, we actually need to grab our indicator and open up our wheel guard. Let me show you how I'm going to establish the X, which is going to be how far off that wheel is going to start. From this position, I'm going to raise it up in Y. Now I got my tense indicator. I'm going to mount it directly on to my wheel. Do it this way so y'all can see. So now with my indicator in position, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rock the wheel back and forth, and that's going to find my high spot. So I'm going to come down in Y, and you can see my high spot's about right there, so we're going to keep coming up. Put a little pressure on the indicator, rock it. So right there, up, rock it. So the indicator's maxed out. So you can see that I'm off the part, I'm on. When the indicator maxes out or goes to the highest point, that means I'm at the top of my part. So once I rock off, on the part, off the part, on the part, off the part. Now from here we're going to keep it on the high spot. We're going to go in our X position, and then we're going to walk it off of our part. So as you can see, it's already kind of tilted from the mill. So here's where I'm going to establish my starting position. So once I come off the part, right there, I'm going to go ahead and make that my X position 0 for my G54. So right here, my 0 offset is going to be 54, and my X grinding position stored. So now from this point, I have the top of my part, I have how far over that wheel needs to go, and I have the edge of that part to where that wheel is going to start. So now what we can go ahead and do is we can write the program and close up our wheel guard and get grinding.
So I'm going to show you how to do a grind like this, but I want to talk a little bit about why you would grind a part parallel and perpendicular. Now, a parallel and perpendicular part is crucial, especially in mating surfaces. An example of a good mating surface would be something like a hydraulic manifold. If that manifold body is crooked, mounting to its mating surface, it can cause a leak, a decrease in power from that leak, or a catastrophic failure. being able to grind or machine something flat, parallel, and perpendicular is a great skill to have in your toolbox as a machinist.
So the part looks great. We just cleaned up both the top and the bottom surface. What we're looking for here is we want those two surfaces to be parallel with each other before we can continue. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the machine and take it to inspection to make sure that the first two surfaces are parallel.
So what I'm going to check for here is make sure that my part is parallel on my first two datums, the top and the bottom. Now this step is absolutely critical in creating a perfect square, because if you don't have your first two datums established and they're not parallel with each other, the rest of the cube won't work. The first two sides, I've got to make sure that they are parallel within 2/10. So before I put this cube up on our granite surface plate, one thing to keep in mind is that you want to wipe it down. That way you don't have any grit or dirt up underneath your part, because that can affect your measurement. So I just checked the front and the back side of my part, and the two datums are parallel within 1/10. So now I can go ahead and take it back to the machine and indicate my parallel sides and ground the next datum. That way that part is perfectly perpendicular. After that, we'll bring it into inspection and let Travis check it. Alright, so I just finished checking our two datums in inspection, and the first and second datum are parallel. So now what I went ahead and did is I brought it back to the machine, but what I want to show you first is I actually changed up the setup a little bit. So the first thing I want to show you is our shunt vise is actually laid down on its side. Now these shunt vices are actually ground on all four sides, so it's square. So what I went ahead and did, laid it down on our table. That way when we put our part in there, we have a good mating surface. The next thing I did was I went ahead and changed out my wheel. This is going to be a Tyrolet 90 grit F wheel. Now remember, on a hardness scale, it goes from A to Z, and A being the soft wheel and Z being a hard wheel. An F wheel is somewhere in the middle, but it's more on the softer side. So that's going to allow good wheel breakdown and give us a more free cutting wheel, especially for the stainless. Now with stainless, is a super alloy, so you really want to use something that's going to break down, because it can get gummy and stick in your wheel. So what's important is a high pressure coolant and this grain structure of this wheel. Now another thing about the grain structure of this wheel is that these particles are actually more like rice configurations compared to another aluminum oxide wheel where they all look like grains of sand. So the first thing I'm going to do on this setup is I'm actually going to take a 1, 2, 3 block, make sure it's clean, make sure my table's clean, and I'm actually going to set it down right in the middle of our vise. And what that purpose is going to do is that's going to allow that cube to sit upright and up off the table. That way I can indicate it in if I have to. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I mark the side that I'm going to indicate in. That way I don't get confused. It's important to keep track of what side you're working on, because you can get lost really quick in this process. Now my part is up off the table, and I go ahead and put slight pressure. Now I'm not tightening this down all the way, because I still want to run an indicator up that part, and if it's too tight, I won't be able to adjust it. So once I indicate this part in, I can go ahead and torque down my vise. And similar to like tramming in a Bridgeport mill, once you tighten it down, we're going to go ahead and check it again. So what's nice about these Blohm machines is they actually have a nice little spot so you can mount your indicator that it has a lip. That way you don't have to mount to this protection plate and risk your indicator falling off. You get a good indicator reading on this. So now I have my indicator on the part and it's not bottomed out, I can go ahead and traverse up and down in y-axis. That way I can make sure that this part of the block is straight. So I just trimmed my first datum point. Now I know that these two sides are parallel, but now I have it sitting in the vise upright. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down and do a final check, and then once I grind this, it's going to be straight to the machine, and in theory this and this are going to make a perfect 90-degree angle. Now we can go ahead and start grinding our third datum reference point. So the importance of machining a part perpendicular is crucial in aerospace, automotive, and many different industries across the world. So an example of an automotive part that has to be perpendicular is, imagine you're going down the highway and boom, you have a flat tire. So what you do is you take that tire off, grab your spare and put it on. But in a rush, you don't bolt it down all the way. Now what's gonna happen is, as you get back on the highway, that wheel's gonna start to wobble on you and cause a catastrophic failure in your tire and cause you to have an accident. All right, so check that out. The first thing I did was I put it in the vise and indicated it in. And then I did a minimum cleanup across the top, and that, in theory, will give me a perfect 90-degree angle. What I did after I ground it to a minimum cleanup is I put an indicator back on our block and trimmed across to make sure that we don't have any dips. Why did I do that? Well, that's because I wanted to make sure that I had good coolant. There's a thing called coolant starvation, and what that is that if the part is not getting coolant on the edge of the side, you can start to dip down. That's why this part is at an angle, because instead of having this much surface area and it's starving for coolant, now I only have a small triangle. So that's a tip in case you're doing some bigger parts. You can go ahead and turn them sideways. That way that wheel can get on that part and get off that part.
Hey Chris, I'm gonna hijack your video really quick, so just sit there and look pretty. I need to tell you guys about Boombastic because it's coming up in November and we're gonna have over 50 machines on this floor. It's a full white glove service. It's gonna be full of industry leaders and we wanna see you guys there. We're actually giving away a JC6 CNC machine, all thanks to the YCM Alliance and Cloud NC for partnering up, and your ticket will get you entered into this amazing giveaway. So go register with the link below, get your tickets now, and we'll see you here in November. Okay, Chris, you can go back to grinding your trapezoid.
All right, thanks. Anyway, let's get back to it.
So now what we can do is go ahead and take it out of the vise, give it to Travis so we can get a more accurate measurement of how perpendicular these datums are.
There you go, Travis.
Okay, so ground side on the bottom, ground side here.
Yeah.
Okay. All this is doing is really gathering information from this probe right here, and it's transferring it to our screen up here. So all the stuff that we need will display right here. Let's do that. All right, let's try it. All right, so that is about 2/10 perpendicularity. Now, in addition to that perpendicularity, you can see that we're checking the angle here. We are almost a perfect 90 degrees. And also it has a form check of that line. So even if you're tilted a little bit on a perpendicular scale, you may be pretty flat, and that's giving you that form check as well. And if you want, you can really kind of dive in here and you can see right here, here's our perpendicularity. You can actually see how that part was leaning just those couple tenths. Now, in addition to this lever probe, you can actually go ahead and stick on a standard ball probe, and you can check all kinds of things from height. You can check widths. One of the things I like it for the most is that hole-to-hole feature. So if you want to distance from your center holes, you can get that. In fact, this thing has a linear accuracy of just a couple microns. So super, super accurate. Really versatile piece of equipment. If you can have it in your inspection lab, I definitely recommend it. So if we wanted to be really accurate, would we check it here, here, and here? Because this is checking straight line perpendicularity. You'd almost want to check it in like 3 spots just to feel good about things.
It's close, honestly. 1.7.
Yeah, 1.7, 1.9, and a form of 1/10. And so if you go to the previous results, you can see right here. So you got a 1.3 there, a 1 there, 90, 90. I mean, the angles. So pretty close.
See, all Travis is doing right now is he's checking it in a bunch of different ways to make sure that I'm wrong.
It's basically my job. It's basically what I do for a living. So let's see, we had form was a 1/10, 1/8, and 1/3. So yeah, it's the worst, but not necessarily. All right, so as you can see, Chris, we checked kind of 3 different straight lines here. Your numbers look pretty good. Form looks pretty good. You know, perpendicularity looks like it's averaging 1.6-ish, maybe around there. So I think you're good to do the rest of the sides, man. See how she comes out.
Sweet, thanks, man. Let's go finish it.
right, so we checked all the sides, we checked the top, and there was some variation that we saw checking the whole thing, but all in all, man, he hit his targets and we're good to go.
All 6 sides of my cube have been ground. Now, a couple key things to take away from this is you want to make sure that your setup is clean. The other thing is make sure you have consistent checks throughout your grinding process. The last thing is you want to make sure you don't get lost in this process because it's super easy to do so. So make sure you're marking your part. If you got any other ways on how to do a process like this, make sure you go ahead and leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.